Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to this strange April Fool's experiment thing that we are doing. Welcome back to Snapshot 22W13 one block at a time, where we have obviously made some pretty significant technological innovations in the last little while, and we're not done, because I have some really cool stuff to show you. First of all, some ideas that may well have occurred to you folks while you were watching the previous episode. We can now use dispensers to automatically craft some of the items that we're trading from these villagers in block form down into their more useful items. And so I've set up a dispenser flinging station here that just deposits it nicely onto a crafting table, ready for us to pick up in item form, so that we don't have to worry about lugging around all of those blocks. And iron ingots are infinitely more useful than iron blocks are in this case, because of course we're using things like iron pressure plates that I've been crafting in larger quantities to organize our storage system a little bit. But on occasion we are just stockpiling resources, we are just going to be farming them from the villagers over here, and so it doesn't always make sense to just turn them straight into items, because the items can't really be stored as effectively as blocks can, in my experience so far. I'm finding that it's easier to bring the diamond blocks over here to the storage system and have them flung over into storage by our dispenser, because then we don't even have to break them at all. We can just left click on them to pick them up. And the placed items that we're looking at in this series, the ones which are not blocks, they are technically like a generic item block that they just hacked together for this snapshot. Those don't conduct redstone power, so this easy placement dispenser system doesn't work if you put, say, a diamond item in front of it, because that's not conducting redstone power, it's not getting the power to the dispenser in any way. So I decided probably better to have the blocks stored over here and set up another dispenser flinger right here that automatically crafts it in this location, and that one has to be based on the distance the dispenser can throw, which is to about here. I think it's about 10 blocks distance a dispenser can chuck stuff, although obviously that depends on the curvature that it's going through. Like, it has to account for the height of the dispenser versus the height of the crafting table. But when I put some black wool here as a backboard, it didn't craft the block into a diamond, and that meant I had to punch the block to get it back, which is not what we want here. So I'm leaving this one open and just setting it up over here. I figure we can probably also set up a crafting area over here where we could just put 3 diamonds in a row, dispense some sticks into the center, make ourselves an easy diamond pickaxe for what we're going to do today, because we're going back to the Nether, and I have a couple of things I want to try. We are going to go looking for the stronghold. We may have to craft a Nether portal of some sort when we get to the stronghold location, and that's going to be painful, judging by yesterday's experience, although I have some ideas for how we can potentially make getting hold of obsidian a little bit easier as well, which is exciting and dangerous all at the same time. But I also want to see, in terms of the physics of the blocks that we're working with here, and the fact that we can suspend blocks on top of pressure plates and stuff like that, what happens with soul sand bubble columns? And this is a question I've had for a while, because often when you're dealing with these falling entities, they can actually deal damage to you, and quite a lot of damage depending on what the entity is, right? So if you end up with an obsidian block being flung at you, it's basically a one-hit KO because of the hardness of the material, the time to break of the material determining how much damage it does. And while it's still in motion, it has a chance to hit the player, but obviously when we're walking through all of the blocks that we've accumulated here, still in falling entity form, but stable, they're not really dealing any damage to us. And so I'm wondering, if we end up putting an item like that into a bubble column, if it manages to be suspended perfectly at the top of a bubble column, does that mean it can still deal damage? Is it going to collide with the area of the player, or the area of a mob even, that takes damage? And then in that case, can we use it to make a mob farm? Is kind of my overall question for this, and I don't know if we're actually going to get that far, because it's going to take a lot of grind to even make anything resembling a mob farm. But I have some potential ideas for that. In the meantime, though, we are going to have to go back to the Nether to resolve some of our problems with this, namely, how do we get hold of stuff like soul sand in the first place? And we should probably go with some of the major objectives of Minecraft as well, and get hold of a few more end portal frames so that we can eventually locate the stronghold. But lots to do today, lots to do, so I think we'll probably end up going to the Nether first. I'm also fixed with a certain amount of curiosity for whether or not Piglin Bartering is still possible, because we can still get hold of these gold ingots, but do we just end up throwing them at a piglin? Can we still right-click on them to barter with them? I don't think they will pick them up off the ground because they don't break blocks, so I think we're still going to have to go up and right-click on them. It's just whether or not that results in me flinging it at the piglin and the piglin getting mad at me. That's really what I want to test here. But frankly, if Piglin Bartering still works, I want to know about it, because that could be a really interesting avenue to get certain resources, and also it'd be quite funny to watch a piglin just fling stuff at the ground. There is one over here who's getting a little bit scared by all of the zombie piglins in the area, but maybe we can distract him from his concerns with some gold. Yes, okay, Piglin Bartering works. That's question number 1. Question number 2, do they give me items back? No. Okay, it looks like they fling an invisible item entity. The game hasn't decided which one it is, and it's just disappeared. So that's unfortunate. That means we can't get hold of stuff like quartz and gravel that way, which would be my next question in terms of what we can farm, but at least I'm still able to deal with the piglins, considering that I'm wearing a gold helmet, and that means they're not mad at me. I also wanted to pop in here very briefly to get the achievement, and also to lay out some of the stuff we got from this loot chest, because one of those things is a saddle, and I've been very curious about whether or not we can saddle up certain types of entities to ride them around. I did tame a horse over here in the overworld just by getting on it a couple of times, and we mainly did that for the advancement, because of course taming a horse is one of the things in husbandry. We have got to tame an animal somehow, but at the time I didn't really have any way of moving the horse, since you can't pick up horses in the same way that you can other mobs. You just end up getting on them to ride them, and I'm not entirely certain where that horse went after all this. It was a dark horse with white spots though, so I think it might be this one over here on the plains. Let's see if this one will allow us to ride it. Nope, seems like this one is not my friend. Well, it could be my friend if I continue to get on it. Yeah, this one is now my friend. Okay, and if we end up trying to put the saddle on it, yes, we can still saddle the horse, and this is the exploit people have gotten where you can shift right-click on a horse and it opens up an inventory, which we're not going to be using because I honestly feel like that's kind of cheating a little bit, and also the hotbar doesn't seem to really exist in any meaningful way, so whatever I'm holding in my hands right now doesn't appear as part of the inventory of the horse. So you can still open your inventory, but it's functionally kind of useless, I guess. So fair enough, we don't need to worry too much about that. What we can do is ride around a whole bunch, which is going to make exploring for the stronghold a little easier, and we even have the option of bringing a lead with us so that we could tie up the horse anywhere, although I have a feeling we're probably just going to end up digging a pit for the horse to stay in the meantime. For now, let's see if it can jump reasonably well. The jump is pretty poor, to be honest, but at least it gets over the fence, and that's enough for me. Alright, back to the Nether, and let's see if we can acquire a decent amount of soul sand. Honestly, the best thing about the Nether is how breakable a lot of the blocks are, because netherrack is pretty punchable, all told, and it's nice and easy to acquire a block of it if we need it to either defend ourselves or pillar up with, or something like that. And despite the fact that I could use more bone meal, I think I'm going to steer clear of the skeletons for now. We're just going to grab a couple of blocks of soul sand and make our way back to the overworld. Now, we will need a better place to test this if we want to use it for stuff like item storage and damaging mobs, but in the meantime, I think we should be able to at least try it out here in the river. If I go and pop a soul sand block down, let's say here, then that's still going to create a bubble column, as it should do. But my curiosity lies with what happens next. If we throw a grass block into this bubble column, probably trying to face straight down on top of it if we can, because that way the item will just bob up and down. Is this going to mean permanent storage in the same way that, like, a vanilla ender portal works, or is it going to mean potential for damage? Yes, okay, we got damaged by it. Now, do we get damaged by it again? Does it ever stop? Does it ever stop damaging us? No, I think it doesn't, which means, potentially, that if we float a really powerful block on top of this, like some obsidian or something like that, that could be a really great way of mob farming. And of course, the problem with a mob farm approach like this is that all of the mobs, when they die, are just going to fling their items everywhere because we can't store them in like a hopper system or anything like that. But frankly, I think it's going to be fine because the chickens have been laying eggs everywhere all series long, and yet we haven't died yet. So I think this is going to be kind of an interesting approach to a mob farm if we can pull it off, but I think we have the chops to get it done. Even the bubble column isn't going to be all that difficult because we can place water sources thanks to seagrass, and I have a feeling that we'll be able to do some pretty interesting shenanigans with that. But in the meantime, while I've still got a few gold helmets, I might also go exploring a little bit more in the Nether Fortress to see if we can get hold of more of the end portal frames, because we will need those if we want to go to the stronghold and consider going to the end and fighting the dragon, at least to see what's in the end again, because it was really fun last time I was there. My main concern here, of course, is running into Nether Fortress mobs, because I don't really have a great deal of ways of defending myself other than just picking them up, which is not the easiest thing to do when you're fighting something like a wither skeleton. Now let's try and dodge the end portal frame if it leaps out of here, which it does, and of course it places itself on the grid, which means I have to break this with my hands for about 3 minutes. Okay, we got hold of that, and I don't know if these end portal frames are guaranteed. Whoa, okay, I just stepped on an invisible fire. That wasn't great. Or did I get shot by a blaze? I did. Oh no, okay. So, like, as I was saying, yeah, I don't know if these end portal frames are guaranteed to be in the Nether Fortress loot chests, but I think we can get hold of a good number of them, and that will hopefully give us a better chance of completing a portal once we find the stronghold. So we'll store this one on our carpet storage. There we go. We've got 2 of those now, and they're going to be Zed fighting a little bit because I will probably end up making a storage system for them, presuming they can be moved around with dispensers. But right now they're just going to be in slightly different places. So we'll have to deal with that when we get to it. So it's pretty clear that any kind of helmet, whether it be gold or otherwise, is not going to help me much in here. I think bobbing and weaving is going to be my only real strategy. We do have a gold sword down here, which I'm kind of interested to see if we can deal any damage with, but honestly it's probably just going to be a red herring. We do have another chest down here. Thankfully, it seems like this fortress has generated a lot of chests, so we have another end portal frame here, and even a bunch of iron and diamonds. The loot in this is actually really good. I mean, it's really good if you're playing normal Minecraft. It's actually kind of terrible if you're playing 1 block at a time, but still, we've got ourselves another end portal frame. Let's bring this one back with us too. That's end portal frame number 3, cheerfully Zed bashing away. Let's keep moving. Oh, I don't like the fact that there are wither skeletons around the corner there. I don't like that at all. I think we need something that we can use to defend ourselves. Maybe we can try flinging a gold sword at them. This seems kind of futile, but here we go. Yep, that works, and it seems like they're trying to step on the gold sword, but no, we're going to have to throw this guy down there. Okay, fair enough. We can do that. We can do that at least. We got another chest here. Let's try and avoid getting splatted. Brilliant. And I don't think we can equip any of the other armor other than the helmets here, so that gold chest plate, unfortunately, is not going to be of any help to me. I'm keeping an eye on this blaze in case he tries to come around the corner, but at the moment, I'm partway through breaking this end portal frame, and I really wouldn't like to be interrupted. Okay, we've got it. Let's make a break for it. Run. Here we go. Yes, I'm on fire, but it's raining, so that's great. Frame number 4, baby. I really don't like the amount of wither skeletons I'm seeing. What I do like is the amount of chests I'm seeing. There's so many in this fortress. They must have upped the chances of these fortress chests appearing, otherwise I'm getting absurdly lucky, and I'm absurdly lucky there because the end portal frame landed halfway onto something else, and that means I was able to pick it up without having to mine it. And now I have a piglin mad at me. Get wrecked. Yes, and now, yes, oh, we were able to pick up the end portal frame as well. That was textbook kill. Very, very good work. Honestly, I'm so happy we ended up playing this snapshot for a bit longer because I'm having the best time with some of this stuff. Oh, we got a spyglass skeleton down there that's going to immediately aggro all the zombie piglins in the area. Yes, get wrecked. Brilliant, great stuff. We got a couple of spyglasses on the ground there as well. The spyglass, again, does some interesting stuff. We're not going to bother with that right now. We are going to take the bones, though. Bone meal is really valuable to me at the moment. We'll leave that up here by the portal and ignore the fact that I have an iron ingot on my head. We'll go for another of the end portal frames, and we won't be able to assemble an end portal just anywhere. We do need to make sure we're in a stronghold when we do it, but this is honestly priming us to deal with whatever... Okay. I was gonna say this is priming us to deal with whatever stronghold portal we come across, but it does require us to actually catch some of the end portal frames when they fly at my head. At least I sort of know where that was, though, so we can get back to it nice and easily, and all we have to do is deal with the pain of mining this again. How many is this at this point? I think this is like the 6th one we have. That's really good. Less good when there are wither skeletons waiting for me on the roof, but I think we can try the same thing we did before, and oh, that only worked once. All right, let's see if we can... take care of the other guy. All right, he's on my head. Piglins will fight with the skeletons. Let's throw this guy to the piglins. Yes, die to their crossbows. Incredible. Okay, now I have to make sure I can pick this frame up again, which is going to take another 3 minutes. I should have put these on a gold pressure plate so that I could have measured how many of them we have. That would have been a better idea. Let's do that, actually. So with the gold pressure plate over here, we should just need 1 redstone dust, and we can measure the amount of end portal frames that we have on this by the strength of the redstone output, right? So that's gonna give us power 1 already. I mean, I'm counting them off as I take them off of the carpet and put them on the pressure plate to begin with, but with all of them on there, That is power level 6. Yes, okay, so now we have a means of measuring how many of these things we have. I just have to be very careful about stepping on the right block when I chuck them in the air. Another cool thing I was considering doing, by the way, is having the pressure plate that's measuring the amount of cobblestone that we have here connected to the cobblestone generator. So that way, when it's producing anything up to, like, you know, power level 15 or whatever it would, it switches the cobblestone generator off, and every time we take any cobblestone out of this stack, it would automatically make more for us, so that we'd always have the right amount of cobblestone in supply over here. There's genuinely so much you can do with this. It's kind of mind-blowing when entities like this don't despawn. You can do a lot of wild stuff with it. And yes, it will end up producing lag if we store enough blocks here, which is why I'm using it fairly minimally right now. But we don't need to worry too much about that, because realistically, how long are we going to be playing in this world? At least a little while longer, because I still have some experiments I want to try, and we still have more end portal frames to recover. So a couple more dives into the fortress here, and hopefully we should come away with the goods that we need. It's also possible to carry a blaze around on our heads, so if we want to fireball some stuff, we might be able to do that. Although it's not the best strategy in the Nether, because most of the mobs in the Nether are fireproof. But hey, we can give stuff like that a try in the overworld, perhaps. Another free portal frame over here. Yes, perfect. Okay, let's see if we can sneak this one back to the overworld without being spotted. Not gonna risk tangling with this guy. Let's throw him. Oh, there's three more. There's three more. Help. See if we can get out of aggro range quickly first. There's a magma cube over there as well. I'm slightly curious about those, but I will settle for just bringing frame number 7 back to the overworld. So a short time, a live stream, and several cups of tea later, we have made some discoveries, my friends. This is actually kind of exciting because there's some more wacky mechanics that we can start to play around with. I discovered the crafting recipe for droppers still works. I ended up putting a crafting table in there, 1 redstone there. This part was empty, but we threw the last piece of cobblestone on and we got 8 droppers. And droppers are basically like dispensers, but without the extra momentum, and they end up actually popping items off in front of the dropper itself and just dropping it. Like, literally, as the name suggests, they end up dropping it. And so if we can grab a redstone torch that's available from somewhere around here, and oh, we'll get to this in a second, one of the things we can do is pop the redstone torch down there in here. We'll put the block right in front of the dropper, and the dropper just drops it, and it aligns with the grid, but once again, it is completely transparent because this works in a similar way to what the dispensers are doing, but instead of throwing the items away from the front of the dropper, it just drops them where they are, in perfect sync with the grid. And the cool part about this is it also works with crafting stuff. Let's say, for example, let me grab something we can craft over here. What do we have? Let's grab one of the resource blocks from our villagers over here. You've got an iron block, perfect example. Okay, so we grab this. If we end up placing this somewhere, which, you know, I've done a couple of times, entirely possible to do, what we could do is put a crafting table underneath it. We can activate the neighboring dropper, and it basically pops it up a very small amount and then drops it back in position, which means in this case that it drops it directly onto the crafting table, activating the crafting that turns it into an iron ingot. So if you wanted to, you could build this dropper contraption around something that you're having difficulty moving and drop it onto a redstone torch or another button or something like that and have it be collected manually in the same way that we're using over here at our storage system. So in theory, with this, as long as you can get around one side of a block, you don't even need to mine the blocks anymore. And I had prepared a few golden pickaxes because I was doing some experiments with making obsidian, and I overshot the backboard that I had made to stop the obsidian and drop it as a falling block entity, and we have a block of obsidian here which would take me probably, I think, about 4 minutes, I think is how long, like literally 4 minutes, not the exaggeration I was doing with the end portal frames. It would take about 4 minutes to break that, but now our friend the dropper can help us with this. And for the sake of this example, we're also going to rely on a pressure plate because we need to rescue the obsidian from that watery area over there. I'm pretty sure people call that a river. I mean, I don't know, watery area. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm doing commentary on these episodes, guys, words escape me. But if I end up placing the dropper right there, and we can put the pressure plate underneath this obsidian block, because of course pressure plates aren't washed away by water the way other redstone components are, we can activate the dropper with a button, it drops the obsidian, and we can pick it up without having to mine it. How incredible is that? I'm so happy with this. But if we wanted to, we could replace the dispenser element of our storage system with that, including the bit that comes out from the cobblestone generator. We could just have a dropper here instead of a dispenser, and the items would just fall onto the redstone torch if we placed them in front here. So as soon as the cobblestone got shifted over, it'd drop on the redstone torch and be collectible in the same way that this stack of cobblestone here is. We could do that for every dispenser down the row, with the exception of this one here, because this is an obsidian crafting station. We've actually got a waterlogged stair behind here. It's kind of buried inside of these right now, but there is a waterlogged stair right there. And if I'm able to gather a bucket of lava from the cauldrons over here, I haven't really been able to get many more buckets together because they cost a fair amount of iron, and I'm saving the iron for other things. What we can do is line up the lava bucket throw with this area over here, which I've usually been doing in first person, but with the HUD hidden, so we can kind of line up the crosshair up there for the throw. There we go, we can throw that in there, it turns into obsidian, and the dispenser can fire it over into our obsidian stack, which once again means that we have a bunch of obsidian we can collect without mining it. And now we even have a means to put the obsidian that I just mined up into storage for us to use later. We can take this to create nether portals anywhere in the world that we want to without having to worry about painstakingly moving all of the lava into place and then drowning the whole thing in water to turn it into obsidian with the bucket method. We have movable obsidian at an instant at our fingertips. I've also been storing dispensers because clearly those are going to be quite valuable to us here, but I think droppers are the next big thing for this playthrough. And speaking of big things, there are a few other big things growing around here now, because I was trying to figure out how we were going to be able to make scaffolding. As you can see, I was successful, but it needed a little bit of wrangling. First of all, I needed to get hold of some more string. Really difficult to get hold of string still, and it becomes invisible when it's on the ground, which is even harder. But to be honest, it wasn't that hard to get hold of the string once a few spiders spawned in the vicinity, and I guess you could farm cats if you want to, which I really don't want to. But either way, when you needed to get hold of bamboo to craft it into scaffolding, the individual bamboo saplings that you plant when you plant a bamboo plant doesn't actually count towards the crafting recipe. You actually had to let the bamboo grow one stage, so you ended up with the actual bamboo stick here, because if I break this, even though it doesn't appear in the inventory as an item, it's not in your hands in first person. In third person, we're holding a bamboo sapling, and that's not actually what you use to craft it. You use the bamboo item. So what we actually had to do to craft any scaffolding was to cut the bamboo down so it was just the bottom row like this, or maybe the top rows might have survived, but we had to place the bamboo all the way around here. In some cases, we even placed a second bamboo plant to make sure it grew artificially, and then we fired the string into the crafting recipe once all the bamboo was at a specific height. So crafting scaffolding is a little bit difficult, and honestly, even though you get 7 pieces of scaffolding out of the crafting recipe, is honestly not really worth it. Not to mention the fact that you can only take down 2 blocks of scaffolding at a time, and if you break it from the bottom, it just destroys the entire tower of scaffolding, because what's it going to do? Drop as item entities? It doesn't do that. So a little bit of bad, a little bit of good. One of the reasons I wanted scaffolding in the first place was to see if we could create a mob farm up in the sky somewhere, or at least an AFK spot for a mob farm that was built a little further down. And then it occurred to me, how exactly are we going to flush the platforms if we were going with the typical mob spawner design that we've done in other seasons, in other playthroughs and worlds and that kind of thing, with normal Minecraft mechanics? And it turns out that it's a little bit difficult to flush platforms when the dispensers can't really dispense buckets of water. We don't interact with them in the same way. Instead, though, we had a bit of a revelation. It's a revelation that I will need another button for. I think I still have one over here. In the comments of my last episode, somebody pointed out that you can actually use dispensers to convert the fluids, the water and lava in the world, into buckets of water or lava. But when they come back down, they end up reforming the water or lava sources. So if I throw this seagrass into place over here, we can remove the seagrass, but we've got a water source right there. And what we're going to do with this water source, for a start, I'm going to move that redstone torch out of the way, because that is honestly a hot commodity. I kind of want to keep that around if I can. If we now press this button on the side of the dispenser, it ejects it as a water bucket, and it gets caught in the cobweb up there. I went to an abandoned mine shaft and found that we could have a cobweb suspend the water bucket in midair. It takes a while to fall back down, but during that time the platform could dry out and all of the mobs could spawn, and then when the water bucket falls down once again, we end up with the water source renewing itself and flushing the platform completely. link this up to a decent sort of redstone clock, which would have to be a more analog kind of thing because hopper clocks aren't really a possibility in this either. And that way you could end up with a flushing platform system for a mob farm. It would only be able to do one platform at a time. We'd need to build multiple platforms over a wider area, but I think it would work pretty well. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be a theoretical project, really, because I don't know if I will have the time to build a mob farm. I'm thinking of a way you could do it, and it would involve generating a lot of cobblestone with a cobble generator like the one we've got here at the site of the mob farm, so that we didn't have to run around, go back and forth and everything. We could just set up a cobblestone generator like this that would store all the cobblestone on a dropper. We would build out a large platform 2 blocks at a time, since that's what we can carry in the main hand and the offhand, and we just build the entire thing right there instead of bringing over a whole bunch of supplies in our inventory, because what inventory? And I was testing a few different designs in creative. I ended up making a clock using an armor stand, just going around on some pressure plates with ice blocks underneath and water streams carrying it around, and that seemed like a pretty cool way to make a more analog clock for this entire thing. But during the process of that, I discovered something else quite exciting. If we create a couple more water sources either side of this dispenser using our seagrass water source once again, so that the center becomes a complete water source, and this is like, you know, an infinite water source in the center, then anytime we activate this dispenser, it dispenses a water bucket, which is immediately renewed in the center of there because the water source is infinite. Effectively, this allows me to farm buckets. If we hook this up to a redstone clock, I think it might be even faster than the method of, you know, breaking and replacing some powdered snow from your offhand. And now that I have an infinite number of buckets, I have absolutely no problem turning some of those buckets into obsidian so that I can create another nether portal without all of the fuss of crafting it like this. Before we wrap up today's episode, I do want to show you something, because I promised I was going to go mining for ancient debris in the nether, and oh boy, am I giving it a try. That is, when I'm not being insta-killed by piglins outside of my home portal. Anyway, there's a little bit of shenanigans going on here in the nether. I may have brought 1 or 2 of the seagrass blocks with me so that we could make some water in the nether. So yes, massive obsidian farm here if we wanted to. Probably need quite a lot of droppers for this one, though. What I only need 1 dropper for is down here at the end of a tunnel, because I've been doing a little bit of ancient debris mining, or at least I've gotten down to Y15 on a relatively consistent tunnel, and I've started storing all of the netherrack here as falling blocks. Thanks to a redstone torch we can drop in there, and we can just throw the netherrack in front of the dropper, and it will store it all up as entities, meaning that we can continue mining down this tunnel until we find some ancient debris, storing all of the netherrack in one place that doesn't even look like there's anything there at all. Unfortunately for me, this does make it impossible to retrieve that redstone torch, because it just gets buried under the pile of netherrack. And what we can do to remove this whole thing is dig down basically to break the block underneath the redstone torch, and that will realign all of those blocks with the grid, where only about 10 or so of them end up getting saved, the rest of them just end up being deleted. That's also how we can avoid this junk netherrack devouring my frame rate as I do this. So we're going to do this 1 block at a time. We might end up making some tunnels off to either side at this point, but we're going to centralize everything around this dropper, and hopefully we should be able to find ourselves some ancient debris. Well, so far I have not had any luck getting hold of ancient debris. I have been tunneling, I've been clawing netherrack out of this place with my bare hands, and nothing much has worked so far. So at this point, desperate times call for desperate measures. And honestly, if doing this blows me up, I'm not really going to lose a great deal, so I feel like there's probably no time like the present. We're going to throw a bed down over here. I'm probably going to block my feet in like so with a block like that, and let's see how this goes. Oh, not well, but not badly either. The fires are now thankfully turning all of the netherrack in the surrounding area to nether bricks, and it looks like by doing that we might even expose a bit more debris if there is debris to be had down here. Of course, it also floods the surrounding area with entities, and that's going to be a little bit weird figuring out what's an entity and what isn't, judging by the mess that we've made around here. But honestly, yeah, that wasn't too bad. I would do that again, and I will, because I brought 3 beds with me. One of which has now gone, so I guess we have just 1 left. So we're going to put it down there, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, and well, there's a bit of gold down there. That's kind of nice, but I'm still not seeing any ancient debris. Have they just removed it? I bet they've removed it. Oh, and bed mining creates some cursed-looking blocks as well. That is gravel with a netherrack texture on one side, because both of them are trying to occupy the same place at once. All right, I'm going to try a couple more beds down here, because it doesn't seem to be all that bad, but I think I might give up after this point, to be honest, because it's ancient debris after all. What do we need it for? Luckily for me, the villagers aren't all that keen on using their beds anymore, so I might as well. Honestly, I think a lot of the convenience of the bed mining method sort of goes away when you can only carry 3 of them with you at once. But let's hope exploding another couple of these things does actually pay off. I haven't seen any debris yet, but hopefully we will. Although with the fires dying down in here, it did just occur to me that we might actually be looking for netherite scrap instead of ancient debris, because, of course, all of the fires around here are going to automatically smelt the stuff as it appears. But even so, it doesn't look like we actually have any. So, 4th time lucky? Yes, there is some. It's right there, and I have to shift a few of these blocks before they all get set on fire by the lava, but we have some ancient debris in this playthrough, and would you look at that? It's already being smelted into netherite scrap right in front of us. Well, out of all the blocks in the game, I think these are the ones that I would be least worried about falling directly in lava, but we can never be too careful. And let's see quite how long this would take to mine by hand. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Let's go and get ourselves a redstone torch and we can get this the drop away. You know what? Let's mine it with a pickaxe. Why not? Let's have this be the only block in the series we mine with a pickaxe. And from what I understand, we should be able to mine this with a gold pickaxe because gold pickaxes are just as fast, if not faster, than some of the other tools in the game. And right now, everything we mine will actually be picked up. We have effectively silk touch on our entire existence. There it is. We are holding a block of ancient debris in our hands. That's a good advancement to get, folks. That's a very good advancement to get. But for now, I'm going to leave that over here in front of our dropper so that we can collect it a little bit later, because I have a couple more beds stashed away up here that hopefully we can do a little bit more blast mining. And if we can come away with 4 blocks of ancient debris from this, that'll be incredible. Honestly, the effects of bed mining like this are absolutely catastrophic. It's like everything just turns into a mess of glitched entities. The explosion creates stonecutter recipes in some of the neighboring blocks, so we end up with like weird pockets of blackstone. I end up holding fire. It's like an apocalyptic event has just happened, basically, but unfortunately, it looks like we didn't uncover any more ancient debris with that final blast. So you know what? I'm going to call it there. I think 2 ancient debris will have to be enough for now, and maybe I'll do a bit of wool farming, and I'll come back with a few more beds later. So in theory, all we should need to do for this dropper trick to work is break out the block that's underneath this ancient debris right now, place a redstone torch down there, and we get to pick it up instantly. That's incredible. The fastest I have ever mined ancient debris. I'm not even going to risk wearing some of this stuff on my head as we get out of the nether. Let's just leave as quickly as possible. And it's a good thing too, because the entire nether portal is surrounded by blazes. But let's see if we can make a hasty exit out of eye shot, and we're through. Here we are back in the overworld, and we have ourselves some ancient debris and some netherite scrap. I don't even have to worry about putting this stuff down on the grid, because now I know I can just attach a dropper to it and drop the thing. Well, folks, that is where we're going to wrap up this episode of One Block at a Time, and I think maybe we'll just do one more episode here and there. Perhaps tomorrow, we'll see. We'll see what my schedule can allow, but we'll be back to the Minecraft Survival Guide as of Monday, so I hope you folks have enjoyed this mini-series so far, and stay tuned for the dramatic conclusion. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Pixlriffs. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.